We'll begin lying down on the front of the body. So a bolster ready for the practice, a block, a strap only if you usually use one. And then you can replace all of those items, of course, with rolled up blankets and books and whatnot. And when you come down to the front of the body, I invite you into a crocodile pose. So a lot of you are familiar with the different variations of it. I will still explain them to you. So when you lie down on your tummy, you can, of course, stack your hands one on top of the other and rest the forehead onto those. Or you could touch your thumbs and your index fingers together, building a triangular shape, and then resting the forehead into the triangle. So whichever one you've chosen, once your head is resting down, just making sure that the elbows are sliding out enough so you're not bearing any weight on the forearms. And with that avoidance of weight bearing, you will also feel that the shoulders are starting to soften. If, however, this hand position isn't for yours, because you might have shoulder problems or pain, you can always just rest the forehead down, or if that's not possible, resting the chin down. This is slightly uncomfortable for me here in the neck, but sometimes when the other position doesn't work, that one does. So once you've set your upper body up, you may touch either the big toes together, let your heels fall out, or take your legs out wide and resting on the inside of your ankles. And really, oftentimes it's good to try them both unless one is limited by hip problems or else. Just to feel which one is the one that works for me today. I usually like my legs out wide. Today I don't. So I will touch my big toes, letting the heels roll out. And then once you're resting here, let's just sink in. Allowing your body to become reasonably heavy towards the floor. Noticing if the position that you've chosen actually feels good around the pelvis, the lower back. If it doesn't quite, you might want to wiggle and move, play around again with your legs and feet and see if you can come into more comfort. Noticing how you're feeling. Noticing the physical body, emotional body, mind. Noticing all the thoughts that you took into this practice. And acknowledge whatever thoughts they might be that are unrelated to what you're doing right now, that they have no importance at this stage whatsoever, that you can't do anything about them right now anyway, so you might as well pause the thoughts deliberately. And then let's move on to have a look at our energetic body. With that comes the breath. I'd ask you to notice that likely you're currently breathing down into the abdomen and that the abdomen pushes into the floor. So it doesn't have room to expand, and it will expand out into the side of the waist and maybe a bit into your back instead. So I invite you to observe that. Get a real feeling for the breath finding a different way as there's now the obstacle of the floor underneath. And we're changing the breath a bit as you move your breath up into the upper belly and lower ribs. And now breathing more into this area and just noticing how the breath again finds a way to expand between the ribs. Maybe now that the breath is a bit higher against your ribs, the body starts rocking very gently up and down. And you're getting a sense of the breath moving into the sides of the rib cage and maybe into the back of it. I'd love you to increase the depths of your breath here. So expanding a little bit more. Using the obstacle that you have by resting on the belly. And really expanding out into the sides and into your back. A few really deep, full breath in, maybe using a jai technique if that feels right, light constriction in the back of the throat. Keeping your spine aligned, the body relaxed. Some deep, full breaths in and out. And if you like, inviting the idea of drawing in fresh energy, expansion of yourself and the physical body. And when you're breathing out, letting everything that's not required or bothers you just draw back down into the ground, into the earth, releasing it. A few more breaths, potentially with these thoughts in mind. Noticing if the mind wanders. Potentially back to the thoughts you uninvited from your practice. That's okay. Just be aware of that. I'll ask you to take another deep breath in, and then let's hum the breath out. And do that twice more. Deep breath in. Allowing yourself now to release your shape. Do so slowly. Bring the hands down by your sides, the feet back into hip distance. And while you take a breath in, firm up through the legs, lifting the head and the chest, a very gentle cobra, and then push further into the ground to come up onto your knees. Let's open the knees out a bit. Take your bolster. Place that down in front of you for a supported child's pose. If you like, you can pop a block or replacement of that underneath the top end of the bolster. Pull the whole construction in towards you, and then turn your head to one side and relax again. It's a light turn of the head, which you could increase by really bringing the ear down onto the bolster. But more important, again, that the arms are completely relaxed. So they're not supporting you. They can just rest here. And if you like, you could even turn the palms of the hands upwards or even drop the arms down by your sides. Please notice how that feels in the shoulders. And if you do have knee issues, I suppose the kneeling might still work, but you might want to take your blanket and put that between the legs to then release a bit of pressure from the knees. If this still doesn't work, you could be a little bit higher and sink in like so. Not quite as comfortable, but at least a possibility. Allowing yourself to surrender for a few more breaths, acknowledging that the spine likely has even a desire to bend forward after the crocodile, which is, although very mild, a slight back bend. If you've got your arms down by the sides, placing the hands down onto the mat, pushing a little bit into the floor so you can lift your head and then turn it and rest the other ear down onto your bolster. This might be your opportunity to change the arm position too. Leaving the shoulders really soft and relaxed. Noticing on this side, how is the breath going? Breath is relaxed now, not as deep as before, but still quite noticeably moving the body. Now placing your hands back down onto the ground, just to lift the upper body away from your support. If you placed an elevation underneath the bolster, take that out of the way, put it to the side of your mat, and come to sit right here on your support. Nice high cushioning. Easy pose would be preferred. If that's not possible for you, you could ride your bolster as well, put it in between the legs. That's another nice variation to sit upright with ease. And then let's roll the shoulders a few times. Just gentle shoulder rolls. Give them some movement forward and back. And then center yourself within that seat. I will invite you into our mudra for today. I will put my hands up and I hope you can see that despite it's a little bit darker here against the camera. So you will roll the last 3 fingers of each hand in, touch them together at the knuckles, tip of your index fingers are touching, and the whole thumbs are touching, and they're kind of sliding in between the other fingers. Once you've got that, looks like this from the other side, draw this down in front of your solar plexus. So you can relax the shoulders. There's a little bit of effort needed to hold the hands in that position, but that will be fine for now. Have a last look down on this shape that you've created. So again, there's a little triangle sitting within it. Close the eyes. Or steady your gaze. And take a moment to just feel, how does this feel like? Whatever you are feeling is perfectly right. And I will invite you to make sound from here. As we're working with a mudra that has an impact on the solar plexus energy center, we will use the seed sound for this center, which is Ram. If your rolling of the R isn't that perfect, that's okay, no problem. Could be Ram instead. With not just making this sound, we're making two sounds on one out breath. The first one is Om, that's familiar, and the second one is Ram. So it will basically sound like this. Om, Ram. We'll make that 3 times. Let's begin together, just inhaling and exhaling. We'll then inhale again and exhale on the first one, doing 3 in a row. Full breath in and out. In breath. Om, Ram. Om, Ram. Om, Ram. Notice what you're feeling now. And then let's release the mudra. Take a deep breath in, circle your arms out and up over the head. And as you're exhaling, draw the hands touching down in towards the heart center. Releasing your hands down. If you are familiar with a breathing practice, that's called Kapalabhati, and you know it is right for you, you can start. If you're not too sure what I'm talking about, I will explain, and you can start this technique very slowly. So you're getting a feel for, is that actually right for me? This technique has the energy lifting through the body from below upwards. And it's quite energizing. So a nice way to help your body go into some further movement. Also, if you're feeling a little bit sluggish during the day, a nice one to practice. It also could make you feel dizzy, if not even nauseous. If that is you, can either keep it very slow, or you could relax the technique altogether and just breathe down into your belly, expanding right up to the solar plexus. So you're drawing in energy through that power center. This technique, if you're new to it, you might want to rest one hand or both even onto the lower belly below the navel. We will breathe in and out, and then we will sniff the breath out of the nose while pulling the lower belly inwards. So in a slow way, it looks like this. And you could speed it up quite fast. It's really just the lower belly pulling in. The only focus you have is the out breath pushing out of the nose. That's always quite quick. And the pulling in of the belly. There's no attention on the in-breath whatsoever. That just happens because this breath is moving like a pump. We're trying to keep the upper body reasonably still. It might move a little, but making sure that it's not going towards a hyperventilation where the whole body is moving. So it's really just the lower belly. So I invite you to close the eyes or steady your gaze. We will start together and we'll go for a little bit. If you feel you're getting lost, which easily happens when you're just starting this practice, then please reset yourself. In breath, out breath, and start again. And you might always start slowly and increase the speed or not. Let's begin. Breathing in and out. And pause, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly. Resting within and observing yourself. Then transitioning your body onto all fours. You might take your support out of the way. Excuse me. Knees separate, hands about hip distance, but a very unstructured movement as you're moving more through a slinky cat. Any movement here is very welcome. You can widen your stance too. Or just stretching the hips down. Careful here, supporting your lower back if you were to do that. And then from that place, roll it forward into kneeling plank. Core is on again, and then slowly releasing down onto the front of your body. Sliding your arms out in front for a swings pose. As you place the forearms down, aligning elbows underneath your shoulders, engaging down to the tops of the feet, so the knees might be lifting. Encouraging your pubic bone into the floor and lifting through the heart space. While you're resting here, or rather engaging here, start to breathe right down into the area of the solar plexus, which might be just touching the ground. You can either choose to stay here or bring weight into the hands, lifting the elbows, increasing the back bend, but still breathing down into the solar plexus area. Last breaths within this shape. Before you're opening the elbows out, just to melt back down onto the mat. Take your hands down by the sides of your ribs. Find your way up onto all fours. And now tucking the toes under. As we're lifting the knees off the ground for a downward facing dog. And I invite you to really move out through your legs. Like a paddling out through the legs and the arms, if you like, as well. Just moving your body in the way that really feels good. We've spent a fair bit of time down there on the ground, so it might just be nice to move like that. Asking you to take a walk then as you're coming all the way to the front of the mat, where you end up in a forward fold. Allowing the lower belly to switch on, knees are soft, and exhaling to roll all the way up into standing. Once you're standing, ideally at the front of your mat, have your feet at a comfortable distance, and that's your own preference, so they might still be touching if that's comfortable for you. Standing here, body tall, right up to the crown of the head. And if your shoulders are a bit achy, you can move the arms up through the center like so. But I'm actually wanting you to draw a sun into the space. So if your shoulders are happy, we'll open the arms. So a slow, deep, full yogi breath in, belly, ribs to collarbones, arms lifting. Maybe the gaze is lifting, maybe your fingertips are touching. And then a slow breath out, belly, ribs to collarbones, elbows a little bit soft and the arms drawing down by your sides. We'll do a few more of those, and I'd like you to imagine that this is the sun you're drawing around you, all the yellow light, deep full breath in, maybe fingertips touching, and then the out breath, belly, ribs to collarbones as you're releasing the arms. I will leave you with that for 3 more rounds. As you arrive back in mountain pose, you might notice some more energy around the upper body, maybe even down to the fingertips. There's no need to actually go into balance, but if you're feeling quite solid today on the feet, we will still draw a sun into the air on the in-breath and lifting the right knee. And we'll still draw a sun as we're stepping back down into a warrior one stance. We will from here bring our mudra back in front, so folding in the last 3 fingers, touching the knuckles, thumbs touching, and the tips of the index fingers are touching. And we're placing that back down in front of the solar plexus. While we're finding a nice strong stance across our feet, we might keep the hands in that shape, but we'll separate them back into a sun. So with the in-breath, circling them up, and maybe touching the mudra back here. And on the out-breath, strengthen the whole body. Pull that down in front of your solar plexus. On the in-breath, extending the arms out and up. And then a strong breath out, lower belly, then the rest of the belly pulling in as you draw that down in front of your solar plexus. And one more, breath in. And out. I'd ask you to keep this mudra right here where it is. Lean the weight a little bit forward and either keep the hands in front of the solar plexus or reach them out in front for a warrior 3. As you're peeling the back foot off the ground, you can either choose to point your toes back, which I suggest, or flex the foot. We will release that by stepping into a lunge, placing the hands down onto the mat, and then stepping the foot back into downward dog. This might take you into a little flow. If you don't want to flow or want more gentleness, knees down is your choice. On your in-breath, rolling forward to your plank. On the out-breath, lower on or toward your mat. On the in-breath, finding cobra or up dog. And on the out-breath, coming back to a down dog. So owning these movements that you might be familiar with. As you're finding your shape, you could either move it or hold it still. Remind yourself, if you're holding still, the knees out of the lock and the tail stretching up and back, while there's space around ears, shoulders, and upper back. Let us then take a breath in and lift the right leg. And on your out breath, bring the foot forward. Let's take the hands in between the feet and start to rock a little bit from side to side. You can turn your toes out towards the corners of the mat for that. Then let the upper body hang down towards the ground. Waiting for an exhalation, lower belly supports as you're curling yourself up into standing. Taking a deep breath to lift the arms. And this time we're coming into Charlie's Angel's Mudra instead. So interlacing the fingers, index finger touching. This will be a wood chopper pose. So we're creating even more heat. On the out breath, bend your knees and chop it down. Inhale, lift. Make a ha sound. 2 more. Big breath in to stand up tall. Bending the knees. And then releasing the hands as you're drawing that sun all around you. Once the arms and shoulders are relaxed, turning your toes back forward, that's your right foot. Lift the back heel and step the foot to the front of the mat where we're arriving again in mountain pose. Taking a deep full breath in as you're drawing a sun around you. And taking your hands into our mudra, last 3 fingers curled in and drawing that down in front of the solar plexus. Again, there's the option of balancing, but you don't have to. While you're inhaling, opening the sun again and lifting the left knee. And we're opening the sun once more as you step that back into a warrior 1 stance. Taking another breath to lift the arms out. Curl last 3 fingers in, thumbs touching, index fingertips together and pull that down in front of the chest. So you've got time here to adjust the mudra. Last 3 fingers in, tips of index touching and thumbs completely touching between those fingers. Finding a strong, deep stance with strength in the ground. While you're breathing in, circle the arms out. And then as you're activating your belly muscles, pull that in front of the solar plexus. Inhaling. And strong, deep out breaths and pull in. 1 more. Starting to move the body forward. Your choice of keeping your hands here for gentleness in the shoulders, or to extend them forward. And you might peel the back foot off the ground for warrior 3. You could either flex the foot or point it. So you're reaching from the mudra at the front or in front of your solar plexus down to the big toe. Let's take the hands and the foot into a lunge and then step into a downward facing dog. Moving through a flow or taking a rest. So inhale, moving forward, maybe your knees are down On the exhale, lower. Inhaling up dog or cobra. And exhaling back to down dog. Body might be a little bit more at ease now, but if you still want to move, there's a space for that too. On the next breath in, lifting your left leg. On your out breath, stepping the foot forward. And we're repeating here as well. Hands moving in between the feet, turning the toes out to the corners of the mat and rocking the body from side to side. You can actually flow the whole body here. Then release, just hanging down here in the center, allowing your body to lengthen down, engaging lower belly, and a breath out as you're rolling up into standing. Take a deep breath to extend the arms up. And as we return to Charlie's Angel's Mudra, index fingers touching together, change the interlace of the other fingers. Open and lightly bend your knees. Inhale, wood chopper. Ha! Bend the knees more. Ha! 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 Two more. Ha! Ha! Deep breath in. Soften the knees. And slow breath out as you're releasing the arms out and down. Relaxing here as you turn the foot forward and then step the other foot to the front. So we're finding again a mountain pose, standing nice and tall. It's all about this center here today that's associated with our power center in some other practices or traditions, and also a center of heat. Now that we're moving into autumn, I thought it might be nice to create a bit of a fire there, so that we're transitioning in a healthy way. For the actual balance for today, if you can't quite reach your foot, don't worry, it's a dancer pose. So you might instead just bend the right knee while standing on the left foot. And you would then move the knee up and back behind you. If you can catch the foot, hold on to it, or even your ankle if you choose. Touching your knees together. And then lifting the other arm up, if you like, Jhana Mudra, index and thumb touching. Then maybe bring the foot into your hand, but keep opening right through that solar plexus area as well as your chest. Keeping your gaze open, foot pushing into the hand. You're struggling with the balance, maybe use a wall. Last breath here. Before you come to stand, releasing the arm and releasing the foot down. Breathing in and out. We'll then change. So you're either just lifting the foot, and as I said before, you could then bring the knee back, or you can take a hold of the outside edge of the foot or your ankle, bringing knees back together and lifting the arm, maybe index and thumb are touching. Bringing the foot back into the hand if that's yours, or lifting the knee behind you, starting to open once more, solar plexus, heart, even the throat is lightly open as you're looking forward. Natarashasana, your dancer. One more breath. And then release. Standing on your 2 feet, Opening the arms for a moment, closing the eyes, having a standing Shavasana or Tadasana, mountain pose. Just to notice once more what's happening within. Before I'll ask you to bend your knees, place the hands on top of your thighs, tuck the chin in and start rolling down, finding your way down towards the mat, releasing maybe your knees down as well. And then coming onto the side of your body for a moment. So when you're lying down on one side, and you can choose which side you prefer, bend both of your knees. Use the lower arm as a light cushion for the head. And then draw both knees a little bit further behind you. Starting to push the hips a little bit forward. If you can reach, take the top foot once more into your hands and bring the foot into the hands. So again, we're opening a bit more through the front of the body. Another full breath in and out. 2 more of that kind. Then releasing from here. You can roll onto your back from there and then over to the other side. Using again your lower arm as a cushioning. Knees are both bent, remove them behind us, hips moving a little bit forward. And only if you can reach, taking a hold of the foot and bringing the foot back into the hand. Try not to open the knee, keep that quite close to the other. And then 3 deep breaths in and out. Keep moving your hips forward, foot back. Then release that. Ask you to roll down onto your back now anyway. As you might have a block near you, you could instead also use a bolster, but there's not quite that much room for your arms if you do. So I would ask you to maybe use 2 blocks or a block and a cushion behind that block. So lying down over a flat block that is lengthwise, aligning the block's lower edge with the lower rib cage, the spine moving over the block, and the head resting onto a cushion or another block. If you're fine with your neck, you could also let the head fall down towards the floor. Your arms will be open. Now, please step your feet onto the ground to check out how this feels in your back and allow yourself just to rest there for a little bit. If you're feeling quite good in your back, you could instead extend your legs out long. Otherwise, keeping the feet on the ground. We will move back into a sun for 3 breaths. While you're inhaling, lifting the arms up over the head and slide them out sun-like. And as you're breathing out, bring them out to your sides again. So not all the way down. Inhaling, arms sliding over the head. Exhaling, arms softening out to your sides. One more. And then just simply resting your arms here, resting your body here. If anything isn't quite that comfortable, you could adjust legs or cushioning behind you. Maybe your eyes are closed. 3 sounds of Ram. So reasonably fast as we start with in and out breath. And then the sound after the next in-breath. Ram, ram, ram. And then resting again. To release from this shape and back bend, you can either roll over to your side and just remove your assistance from underneath, or you can slide your fingers underneath your bottom, squeeze the elbows a bit in, tuck the chin in, use the hands and arms on the floor to sit yourself up, and then to remove the blocks from underneath you. I will then ask you to use everything that makes you comfortable to lie down on your back, and that could include a little cover, your jumper, a blanket, or whatever you've prepared to get there. And then as you lie yourself down, we won't have a very long Shavasana, but we'll allow the body to integrate whatever we've been doing so far into the body-mind. So the only thing I'm asking you is to lie down and be in comfort. If you've got a support for under the knees, that could be nice. The arms opening up, allowing the body to expand. Or to rest your hands onto the solar plexus area, but making sure that the shoulders and arms are still at ease. So staying potentially in contact with the solar plexus. You could, as well as you're resting here, silently continue the sound Ram. It might be a nice way to keep you focused, but not essential. If you're engaged into the silent repetition of Ram, let that go. Keeping awareness on the solar plexus, color yellow. If you are feeling that a seated position is not for you today, you could instead stay lying down, but holding the solar plexus mudra is much nicer in a seated shape. So if you can manage to sit yourself up gently without disturbing the body too much, and then supporting yourself in your seat, you could even lean against the wall. A reminder for our mudra is to fold the last 3 fingers in, touch the knuckles together, the tips of the index fingers, and then folding the other 2 fingers together into that triangular shape. And then drawing the hands as they are in front of the solar plexus. Relaxing your shoulders down. The attention hasn't changed at all. We're still there in front of the solar plexus. Just using the mudra to go along with, which is the Apisheka mudra. One-pointed concentration. Close your eyes if you haven't done so yet. And feel again into the area and into your hands. You might even feel the breath moving in that area. With all the work we've previously done, the energy there might be quite intense, radiating. Beginning to visualize a flame at the center of the solar plexus. Seeing the gold and orange at the base of this flame. Its luminous blue tip. Its gently curved shape. In the beginning, the flame might waver and even drift away from your attention. Inviting the mind each time to return to the flame. With that, deepening your level of concentration. The breath might slow down, might be more serene. Thoughts might still come. Allow them to go too. Always returning to the flame. might silently or out aloud repeat after me. As my mind rests one-pointedly, I experience deep inner peace and harmony. As my mind rests one-pointedly, I experience deep inner peace and harmony. As my mind rests one-pointedly, I experience deep inner peace and harmony. With a deeper breath in, release the mudra, draw one more big sun around you as you open the arms and draw them up over the head, bringing hands to touch and then taking them down to your heart center. Adding a gentle bow of the head towards your heart and right down below the solar plexus area. Maybe noticing a deeper sense of concentration and inner strength. Then extending to each other. Namaste.